Hey there, Riva here. For our weekly walk through, we appreciate sharing why you might choose to play your cards with us in a weekly session, a weekly half-hour session to help you make a more informed decision about whether or not this channel is for us, whether or not you want to play your cards with us. And so, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome. Thanks for coming back. And each time's a little different because each week is a little different. And so these walkthroughs are a three-way. They're like a three-way between an artist walkthrough, a first date, a safety meeting. I mean, it's slightly different each time, like I said. And so we are playing our cards through loss to live blessed dreams and help others do the same. And so, yeah, let's share some disclaimers before we dive deeper into that. I am not a doctor, lawyer, therapist. I'm a fortune teller. So what I offer is no substitute for their services. Furthermore, what I share does not determine your future. Only your intentions and actions do. So please use your gift of discernment before deciding what to gather and take away. And of course, take only what resonates and blow like a kiss the rest back to the universe for cosmic composting into beauty. This is intended for fun and games, for shits and giggles, for entertainment, for flexing our heart, mind, body, soul, spirit, emotions, and intuition. And at the least, I hope to cause harm to none. And at the most, I hope I may assist you on your healing path. All that being said, one of our first cards is, you may have heard it, Life's for learning to tolerate. Nobody's perfect, starting with self. And we are careful to avoid playing the tricky flip side. She'll never learn. Off with the head. And so, all that to say, I'm not perfect. I don't attempt to be. I don't try to be. I am making mistake after mistake and picking myself up and moving forward and sharing along the way with others. And if I happen to trip and fall and drag you down with me, I apologize. I did not mean to do that. And if you are sensing that another channel may be more appropriate for you, that is your prerogative, right? And of course, you are welcome to change your mind and come back if you want, if you need, if you desire. You have come into more information and you just want to check in again. You are more than welcome to return and come and go as you please, right? To make this more meaningful for you. We are all different psychosocial science experiments, and what works for one person may be slightly different for another. So we just enjoy inviting you to keep checking in with yourself to see what resonates with you and take those bits and pieces and add that into your play. You're already playing your cards. You're already winning. You're still here. So thank you. Thank you so much for being so courageous and so brave. And pardon me, I have been working on my throat chakra for quite some time now. By time, I mean suns, trips around the suns, perhaps decades, perhaps lifetimes. And so I apologize for those and clearing my throat and the coughs. I know that can be off-putting, so I apologize for that. And so I assist people who are dancing out of the fog of adoption fairy tales and gypsy myths, the matriarchy, the patriarchy, the grief struck by loss, sad gone mad, fearful, authoritative, amygdala, cycling, fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn, emergency states. You fill in the blank. There are so many different ways you could say those examples, instances I mentioned. pardon me, that seem to go across fields around Mother Earth, and beyond. And so I share those because they seem most relevant, but of course, you fill in the blank. If there's something else, if what I'm sharing doesn't resonate and you feel comfortable sharing in this forum, then I invite you to do so to assist us, helping hold the safe sound space. Thank you. And so that is reminding me that I enjoy sharing Thich Nhat Hanh's bell mantra to honor all the bells and whistles that we hear as we are gathering, all the people passing by, the neighbors. It could be the cars, it could be the Harleys, it could be the ambulance, the police, you name it. So I enjoy sharing this prayer. It's Thich Nhat Hanh is the person who created it, and you may learn about more about Thich Nhat Hanh at the Plum Village online. And it goes like this. Mind, body, speech in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of the bell. May hearers awaken from forgetfulness and transcend all anxiety and sorrow. Om. Peace. Shanti. Thank you, thank you, thank you for holding love in your heart, unconditional love in your heart, and for sharing that space and saying that prayer with us in your heart. If you aren't saying it out loud, and if you don't want to say it, that's all right too, right? Thank you for helping us hold the safe space for a spell. And that prayer is so beautiful to me for multiple reasons, but one of which is that in our experience, personally and professionally, we see what most blocks learning, leading, loving, living is loss. And that prayer honors that. And we also see that loss it blocks our academic, linguistic, cultural development often, and while simultaneously breeding intolerance, hate, and violence. And so in our experiences, we have seen that play out personally and professionally, and that each time we stop to look evil in the eye or hate in the eye, we see hurt in disguise, calling for the salves of unarmed truths and unconditional love. Not always our turn to serve. It's not always our turn to serve, right? Danger, steer clear. And lifeguards know that sometimes you can't enter the water because it's too rough. And that is a sad reality sometimes. However, those of you who are spiritualists can also see the happiness there. The life continues after death. Lifelong learning continues after death. If life continues after death, lifelong learning just got really long. And so, and we understand also the social contracts that we sign up for before we even enter this sphere, this earthly sphere, and all the different ways that plays out. And of course, take what resonates. Perhaps that's not what you believe, and that's got to be okay, right? Because we are all different psychosocial science experiments, and what works for one may not work for another. And so it's really essential for me to honor you, to keep allowing you that space to honor your standards and what helps your mind, body, spirit system function most effectively and healthily, peacefully, joyfully. And so, yes, so much to share in these walkthroughs. So that's why it's fun to come back week after week and just touch base from a different angle, from a different energy. You see I'm in my corner, a different take on being in the corner, and I'm tilting my head to avoid the glare because that's almost as off-putting as my right? Sound, light healing. It's so essential. And all the different ways that plays out, and I want to honor that. So that loss that blocks learning, living, leading, loving, learning, leading, loving, living the most, while breeding hate, intolerance, and violence, that is, in our estimation, from our experience, what we have seen personally and professionally, what causes the toddler, the teen, the terrorist, the teacher, the tyrant to rage. Loss. Grief struck by loss, possessed by grief, not knowing what to do, and perhaps some of you can relate to being so grief struck by loss that you wanted to hurt yourself and someone else. I know I can, and I know that I have been learning that is not me. That is not who I am. I am not a bad seed or an evil seed like we so often have been taught across cultures, past through present, but it's my loss, rather. And to call it anything else is not a justice. And so often that loss we have seen is misdiagnosed as addict, ADD, ADHD, bipolar, criminal, asshole, bitch, right? Crazy, dumb, right? I mean, this is how we talk sometimes when we're grief struck by loss, possessed by grief. Just shit flies out of our mouth. Evil, freak, rude, ungrateful, and the effects of being mistaken and mistreated as those things when it's really loss at the root is a definite injustice and a disservice, and more harmful than helpful from what we have seen play out again and again and again. It feeds more into the emergency states, the fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn. And that's not to say that I didn't used to buy into that. I did. It seemed easier for me to buy into a bipolar diagnosis for a spell than to admit, no, it's the loss. It's that racism. It's that keeping up with the Joneses that ends up erasing all of our faces. Just the most weak and weary, voiceless first, the darkest first. And so all of these experiences have led us in this direction to figure out how to play through this. How do we adopt success for one and all? Transmuting these violent cycles into love instead of just adopting success for the select few who managed to behave and look a certain way, like an Olympian perhaps, or a politician perhaps, or a you fill in the blank, right? So these cards that you already are playing are a beautiful, beautiful solution that fit, can be adjusted to fit, suit to fit, fit to suit, however you say that, and to honor you and what you need as you keep shifting through life, as you and life keep changing. And so we enjoy sharing workshops. We have online courses. Right now, the online courses are free. They are in their first year. You are welcome to test drive them and offer your feedback if that is your bag. Of course, also, you're just welcome to watch them and see if you find them helpful to help you play through, to help you enhance your play, to enhance your past, present, and futures. Even if you don't know what you want your future to be, even if you're in that place, you're like, wow, I don't even want to live because this racism is so devastating. Perhaps some of these offerings may assist you in a way that returns your dignity and equity in your own space and time. There's so many people up in our face with expectations that have hindered me in being able to honor my truth. It's, as an orphan and adoptee, so many of us are in, participating in these social contracts that we didn't have a say in, that honor the adopters' needs before our own, and our birth family's needs before our own. And of course, we love these people. We understand that they were grief struck by loss and they needed a little assistance. But we also understand, wow, there's extra help we can receive for these things now, especially with the ease of access that we have with the internet, that we no longer have to scapegoat our people. We never did in the first place, but wow, the loss is so devastating that rage comes out in those ways sometimes, where we kick the dog, we whip the post, even our own, right? And to help us flip that guilt and shame card that comes along with that, right? We're just doing what we can. We're grief struck by loss. We're trying to play through, and sometimes we trip and fall and take others down with us. And sometimes we scapegoat other people, because it's just the only thing we know how to do to get to flush all that loss and all that sadness that turns to madness. And so let's see, I kind of went around in a circle there. So thank you for being so patient. So you see, we dive into these issues, and these cards help us play through, because these issues are so sensitive. And perhaps you have used note cards to help you learn multiplication tables, or a different language than the one you were born speaking, or a new skill that you want to learn. And so, or affirmations that you want to change your thinking, change your attitudes. So perhaps you have used note cards in all these different ways, perhaps to help you write a research paper and track your resources, to make sure that you are using your gifts of discernment to really understand what the data means and how it applies to your truth. And that's a lot, right? So these cards, it's like an individual and personal development plan for life. You get to keep coming back to it, and you can play through the loss, play through when you're bored, play through when you want to dream weave, and then when you want to go live your life, you can put the cards up on the shelf to rest. And they're there when something happens, some loss comes up, and you're grief struck by loss and you don't know what to do. Your cards are there. You can pull them off the shelf, you can shuffle through, and you can pick some cards to see if they might be the ones to assist you at this moment. And you may decide, wow, I need to shuffle some more, I need to play some more. Or maybe you've played your cards enough and you know, wow, now I know I just need to play my Epsom salt bath card. Or now I know I just need to play my Ho'oponopono for a full shift card. Or you fill in the blank, right? Grab my cry towel in my cozy space, snuggle up in my cozy space and cry rainbows to my soul, to let this flush through, to honor that sadness. Honoring, like coming from this culture, this cut-off culture that orphaned us, and initially, and then systemically after adoption, that stop crying or I'll give you a reason to cry. Can't you see how hard I'm working for you? Can't you understand and be more grateful? So how to honor those feelings and learn how to feel again when they've been shut down by that, putting others' needs before your own. And this card came up in Chacho Busin this week, our Tuesday circle, helping people play through their cards, troubleshooting. And this card flipped out as I was beginning to share our weekly session. It's open. It's not something that one must regularly attend. However, if you feel that would benefit you for a week of Mondays or Tuesdays, perhaps you do that. Or just once a month, maybe you do that. Or quarterly, maybe you do that. It's there, Tuesdays at this juncture. I mean, anything could change at any time. But this is one of the cards that flipped out this week, and this was from 2012. An anonymous soul, beautiful soul, who was attending an International Roma Day festival hosted by the Voice of Roma in Northern California. And I was offering to help people play their cards at a little table while, there was a few tables actually, while other festivities were going on, music and such. And so people sat down and played their cards with me, and this was one of the ones that came up, and then we strung them up around for people to see. And my partner helped fabricate the cards and paint them to get them ready, and then people were able to put their thoughts on them or decorate them or their art, however they wanted to do it, whatever graphics came out. And I'm flipping this over to just remind us that there's a flip side to every card. And so sometimes that's where we're at, like when the stress gets too much and the loss has hit and it's on top of a pile up already, and you're at this stage of your life where perhaps you're an elder or in middle age, or maybe you're an adolescent, a young adult, wherever you are. And so those times when we're grief struck by loss and there's that negative, sometimes you need to start with that negative. You don't know what the positive is. You can't figure it out. And you need to get that negative out of your head so you can rest and trust, like, okay, if I just let myself rest on this for 3 days, that let the tears flush through and honor that, and just go slow and just go super slow and honor that eventually that positive flip side will come to me, shall come to me. Glory be, and I can write that nice and pretty on the flip side of that loss card. And so, just as an exercise here, what would the negative flip side of this card be? I know it's backwards, huh? The time you need is the time it takes. You have to be done right now. You have to have it figured out before you're 18. You're an adult when you're 18. I mean, what's the opposite of this card? And each of you, it's something slightly different probably, because we're all different psychosocial science experiments. But really, the time you need is the time it takes. Let's play that way, and just trust that limitless universe is working with us and for us, and understands what you've been through and is on your side. And the time you need is the time it takes. And you can take that pressure off that is so often put on us, like, I ain't got time for that, right? We hear so often. Part of the reason so many of us are systemically orphaned is because, like, that's accepted. I ain't got time for that. We've been taught by the cutoff culture that this is acceptable, when not understanding, wow, that's part of the fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn. That's part of our amygdala. It's not necessarily smart and correct. It's understandable. We all need our space to take sweet care of ourselves. And we're learning more and more how to ask for that and to create that space. And perhaps that's some of the silver linings coming out of the pandemic, and coming out of the fog of adoption fairy tales and gypsy myths that's been really happening more and more since 2005, since the decade of Romani inclusion began, and then was extended in 2015, and then again in 2019. Now it's extended through 2030, but also there's been an Operation Fog Lift that's really been put into effect by Adoptees Connect. You may check out that group online, a fabulous group run by Pamela Caranova. And around the globe, there are affiliates springing up, and to honor that, you may check them out and explore more. And it's almost like a little family circus. I'm going around here and there. The time you need is the time it takes. The flip side, where was I going with that? Give me a minute. So we've been playing with our beautiful, beautiful rose quartz for unconditional love and so much more, while I'm trying to remember what is, oh, look at that. The glare. I apologize for the glare. That's so funny. What else this walkthrough you want to know? This is a channel for you. Oh, we have shorts and series that you may tune into to understand more of the shorts. If you go back to the beginning, the channel's relatively new. If you go back to the beginning of the shorts, you may learn more about adoption spirit magic, to understand what that means to you, and what it means to be immersed in adoption spirit magic with us here, as we keep dancing away from the emergency states whenever we trip and fall into them, right? Because we're human, and that's still happening out there. There's still people preferring to operate under the fog of adoption fairy tales and gypsy myths. Let's bring me back around to the Operation Fog Lift with Adoptees Connect. And so honoring that soul surfing, that we're dancing away each time we trip and fall into the fight, flight, freeze, or fuck. We're picking ourselves up and we're dancing away, and not beating ourselves up for tripping and falling into that, and not beating ourselves up if we happen to trip and fall and take somebody down with us in a horribly ugly way. We're practicing flipping that guilt and shame card to practice exercise, flex, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, all the different expressions of the exact opposite of guilt and shame. Especially, we want to keep flipping that guilt and shame card as much as we can, because of how much it is, how low of a vibration it is, and how it prevents us from developing as we need. If we are in such a state of loss, that prevents us from developing academically, culturally, linguistically. And so guilt and shame is one of those things that keeps us at that low vibration. It's one of those two-faced cards that we are dealt with every loss that we receive. Daily, we're receiving losses, right? We're also receiving gains, but we want to honor that and play through the loss. And so let's see, what else shall I share with you this session? Yeah, those shorts will fill in definitions for like adoption spirit magic, definitions about psychic, medium, fortune teller, all different variations of folk artists and teachers we are, right? That it's our free will to choose to study and practice, and part of my duty is to share definitions. So if you're wondering, like, wow, I don't understand, River mentioned this and I don't get it, it could be very well explained in one of the shorts or series, like yesterday's Sparkles is a series that we've been doing. There's also Dada, where we are attempting to do weekly art to get that creativity going. As orphans, abused, neglected orphans, adopted and embedded back into the same cut-off culture that abandoned us. At some stages, we are still so much caught up in treading water and surviving that it's challenging to get to the art that often is a lifesaver for us. So really working that, and that's one of the reasons I began playing the cards in the first place, is to get to my art. And some of that is in previous sessions, so you can refer to that. And yes, this channel is to help us play through those losses in a way that we can feel really happy about, because it is so challenging and devastating, and there's these really dark parts that, how do we honor that and learn from that and move forward in a way that we can feel proud of, and also to honor the fact that sometimes you just need to be able to access these resources in your own safe space and time. And so there's all those different pieces that you can peek into, the different series within our channel, the free online courses that are through Mastermind, that we're wrapping up our first year, that you can offer your feedback and say, wow, that was or this part was awesome, or that part was, I didn't get it, or wow, don't do that, that was really harmful. If you feel, right, I would just want to honor that and honor the feedback. I'm just checking my notes to see if there's anything else. We're at 29 minutes. Yes, just want to offer that. I just want to offer that safe space. It's so important, right? It wasn't there for my family of origin. It wasn't there for the families that adopted me, the families I married into. There's this lack of security for families, and so it's imperative, it's important to me at this juncture to offer these resources to assist families staying together. And if there's situations where it's safer for them to be apart for a while, for example, because part of the family is still operating under the adoption fairy tales or the gypsy myths or the matriarchy, the patriarchy, how to help you move safely into that, perhaps quicker than I did, more safely than I did. Perhaps you can gather some tips there to keep you safe and alive, because this is so much that people are taking their lives. It's Suicide Prevention Month, and adoptees are suicide 4 times more, Romani 7 times more, due to some of these things that we've been speaking to. And trickle down effects of that grief struck by loss amygdala, the Holocaust, pardon me, being mistaken and mistreated as the different labels that I was speaking to earlier. Addict, ADHD, bipolar, criminal, dumb, bitch, asshole, rude, ungrateful, all these different things we say that allow us to just cut off one perceived bad, lame dog after another. Democracy through dictatorship. And so we don't have to do that anymore. We can play a different way. We can adopt success for one and all, transmuting violent cycles into love instead of just adopting success for the select few who manage to behave and look a certain way. And as we wrap up, let us shuffle just one card for the road. What may help you play through minding your business in the highest love and light for fun end games. And this is Souls on Fire by Mary Jo Cranmore. You may find her at Soulful Revolution TV on YouTube. And brilliant, creative, and Juliet Gilden was the artist that helped her create this deck. But you can listen to her daily, and then she's got specials and groups, and I just adore this deck. And so what jumped out for us, let's see. You are a whole, full, loving, spiritual being, and so am I. And we thank your source, spirit team, ancestors, angels, galaxy guides, universes, saints, sages, gods, goddesses, here for the highest love and light, as well as mine. And we thank your source and my source for immediately shifting the situations into what they need to be, offering necessary insights, healings, acts of grace, protection. Heartily, we are grateful. And so it was, and so it was, and so it was. I'm smiling so big because I'm looking at the cards. So pardon me, I have a little itch. We have this, can you see? It is the 9 of Wands. Pardon me. 9 of Wands. And that dismantling that's been happening, dismantling the adoption fairy tales, dismantling the gypsy myths, dismantling the matriarchy, dismantling the patriarchy. We have been doing it. You have been doing it. Congratulations. Thank you for taking such sweet care to do it as peacefully and joyfully as you can, steering clear of danger. And now there's these bits and pieces that you can take to rebuild a joyful, peaceful, new earth. Thank you so much. Because on the bottom, look at this, is this victory card. Going away from that old way of life, going to a new way of life. And these swords, they represent your mind, the intellect, the air. So you may enjoy tapping into those as perhaps you want to air out some of what has passed with trusted individuals or your spirit team or your earthly guides to help flush that out and leave space, stream and grace to replace, and just to keep taking sweet care of yourself. And then on the top we have the Hierophant, this wisdom, this breaking from tradition to create a new way of living that honors you and everyone else involved in a very different way than we've done before, with the access to the technology and the desire to transmute these violent cycles into love, to adopt success for one and all. We are doing it, and it starts with you, just taking sweet care of you and steering clear of that danger and honoring your truth from above, from below. So beautiful. So thank you so much for joining us for this walkthrough. And if you have questions, leave them below, or you may email us at whichtotake@gmail.com. If you want to learn more, you can look at the link tree and see what other services I offer: Reiki, distance readings, and workshops helping you play your cards. Perhaps you would appreciate a workshop for your entire family, or your entire place of business, or your entire place of worship. And so, I don't know, let me know what comes to you, whichtotake@gmail.com, if that's resonating and you want to learn more. And whichever way you go, we love you, and we are so grateful to be able to collaborate with you, even if it was just for this little spell. And thank you for taking such sweet care of yourself, steering clear of danger, and shuffling states of emergency into adoption spirit magic and playing your cards. Heartily, we are grateful. Ciao for now. We love you all.